The disappearance of Maura Murray, a college student, vanished after a car crash. 20 years? No trace. February 9, 2004. A 21-year-old nursing student crashes her car on a rural New Hampshire road. A witness calls police. 7 minutes later, when the first responder arrives, Maura Murray is gone. Her car is locked, airbags deployed, but no sign of her. She vanished into the freezing winter night. 20 years later, despite massive searches, FBI involvement, and countless theories, no one has found a single trace of Maura Murray. Not her body, not her belongings, nothing. Act 1. The days before. Maura Murray was a 21-year-old junior at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Smart, athletic, ambitious. She was studying nursing, ran track, and seemed to have everything going for her. But in the days before her disappearance, something was wrong. On February 5th, 4 days before she vanished, Maura was working her campus security job when she received a phone call. Witnesses say she broke down crying, became so distraught she couldn't function. Her supervisor had to take her back to her dorm. Maura never told anyone what that call was about. 2 days later, on February 7th, Maura and her father Fred went car shopping. She'd recently crashed her father's car and needed a new one. They had dinner together. Fred later said she seemed normal, maybe a bit stressed about school, but nothing alarming. But on February 9th, Maura did something inexplicable. That morning, she emailed her professors and her work supervisor, telling them there had been a death in the family and she'd be gone for a week. This was a lie. There was no death in the family. She went to an ATM and withdrew $280, almost all the money in her account. She packed up her dorm room, taking clothing, toiletries, textbooks, not everything, but enough that it looked like she was leaving for a while. She left behind a note for her boyfriend that read, "I love you. I'm sorry." What was she sorry for? Around 4 p.m., Maura got in her car, a 1996 Saturn sedan, and drove north, alone. She bought alcohol at a liquor store, vodka, Bailey's, Kahlua, and wine, enough for several people, or someone planning to drink heavily. Security footage shows her making these purchases. It's the last confirmed sighting of Maura Murray before she disappeared. She drove north on Route 91 toward the White Mountains of New Hampshire, a 2-hour drive from campus into increasingly rural, isolated territory. Around 7:27 p.m., on a sharp corner of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, Maura crashed her car. Act 2. The crash and disappearance. Route 112 is a dark, winding, rural road through the White Mountains. On February 9, 2004, it was freezing, around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, with snow on the ground. At approximately 7:27 p.m., Maura's Saturn sedan went off the road at a sharp curve and hit a tree. The airbags deployed. The front end was damaged but not totaled. The car was drivable. A school bus driver named Butch Atwood was driving by and saw the accident. He stopped and asked Maura if she was okay, if she needed help. She told him no, she'd already called AAA. This was likely a lie, her phone wasn't working in that area. Butch offered to call police. Maura said she didn't want police involved. Butch thought she seemed shaken but coherent, no signs of injury, no smell of alcohol, though later investigations would find spilled alcohol in the car. Butch went home and called 911 at 7:27 p.m. He lived less than 100 yards from the crash site. The first police officer, Sergeant Cecil Smith, arrived at 7:46 p.m., just 19 minutes later. Maura Murray was gone. Her car was locked. The airbags had deployed. Her belongings were still inside. Her cell phone, most of the alcohol she'd purchased, some had spilled in the crash, her credit cards and some cash, directions she'd printed out. But Maura vanished. Police immediately searched the area. It was freezing, dark, and dangerous. Maura was wearing jeans, a dark jacket, not prepared for surviving a winter night outdoors. They brought in search dogs. The dogs tracked Maura's scent eastward along Route 112 for about 100 yards. Then the scent vanished completely, as if she'd gotten into a vehicle. Over the next days and weeks, police conducted massive searches. Helicopters with thermal imaging, hundreds of volunteers combing the woods, dogs searching miles of forest, searches of abandoned buildings, wells, and bodies of water. They found nothing. No clothing, no footprints leading into the woods, no body, no evidence of where she went. Police investigated Maura's background. They discovered she'd been struggling academically. She'd recently been caught using a stolen credit card. She'd crashed her father's car days earlier. Her relationship with her boyfriend was strained. She'd been researching vacation rentals in Vermont and New Hampshire. Was she running away, planning to disappear, or did something happen on that road that night? Act 3. The Theories. For 20 years, investigators, journalists, and armchair detectives have tried to answer one question: what happened to Maura Murray? Theory 1. She ran into the woods and succumbed to the elements. The simplest explanation: Maura, panicked about the crash and not wanting to deal with police, possibly because she'd been drinking, fled into the woods. She got lost in the dark, freezing wilderness and died from hypothermia. This explains why she's never been found. The White Mountains are vast, rugged, and full of places where a body could remain hidden for decades. But problems with this theory. The dogs lost her scent on the road, suggesting she got into a vehicle. And despite extensive searches, no trace of her has ever been found. Not her clothing, not her belongings, nothing. Theory 2. Someone picked her up. The dogs losing her scent on the road suggests Maura got into a vehicle. Maybe she flagged down a passing car, maybe someone stopped to help. From there, two possibilities. 2A, she got a ride and started a new life. Maura had been researching how to disappear, looking into condos in Vermont, withdrawing cash. Maybe she planned this. She accepted a ride from someone, maybe even someone she knew, and voluntarily disappeared to start over. But Maura left behind her cell phone, credit cards, and some cash. She hasn't accessed her bank accounts in 20 years. She'd need to completely abandon her identity. Difficult to do long term. 2B. She got into the wrong car. What if Maura accepted a ride from someone dangerous? Someone who saw a vulnerable young woman on a dark road and took advantage. This would explain why she vanished completely, but there's no evidence of foul play, no suspects, no witnesses to such an encounter. Theory 3. Local involvement. Some researchers believe someone local was involved, perhaps a neighbor, someone who lived along Route 112. Someone who knew the area intimately and could quickly hide evidence. There were a few people in the area that night whose stories don't quite align. A man named Tandem Driver was reported driving erratically near the crash site around the same time. He was never identified. Some have speculated about neighbors whose properties were never properly searched. But again, no evidence, just suspicions and unanswered questions. Theory 4. Police cover-up. A controversial theory. Some believe local police know more than they're saying. Perhaps there was an accident involving law enforcement. Maura got into a police vehicle, something went wrong, and it was covered up. This theory is mostly based on alleged inconsistencies in police reports and testimony, but there's no hard evidence of a cover-up, and it requires assuming a massive conspiracy involving multiple people over 20 years. The truth is, we don't know. Every theory has problems. Every explanation leaves questions. Maura Murray's father, Fred Murray, spent the rest of his life searching for his daughter. He drove to New Hampshire countless times. He searched the woods himself. He fought with police for access to case files. He appeared on TV shows, gave interviews, never gave up hope. Fred Murray died in 2021, 17 years after Maura disappeared. He died without knowing what happened to his daughter. Maura's case has become one of the most famous missing person cases in America. Documentaries, podcasts, books, all trying to answer the same question: where is Maura Murray? In 2019, New Hampshire State Police announced they believe Maura died near the crash site, and her remains just haven't been found. But they offered new evidence to support this conclusion. Maura's family disagrees. They believe she's out there somewhere, answers waiting to be found.
What haunts me about this case is how close we came to answers. If Butch Atwood had convinced Maura to wait with him until police arrived, just 19 minutes, she might be alive today. If police had arrived 5 minutes earlier, they might have seen where she went. If someone had noticed something suspicious on that road that night and reported it, but they didn't, and Maura vanished into a cold February night. Was it a tragic accident followed by a desperate decision, a planned disappearance, or did something sinister happen on Route 112 that night? 20 years later, Maura Murray's case remains open and active. If you have any information, please contact the New Hampshire State Police Cold Case Unit. If this case moved you, subscribe to Unsolved Vault. We're giving a voice to the missing and the forgotten. Comment below. What do you think happened to Maura Murray? Stay curious, stay safe, and if you ever crash on a lonely road, wait for help to arrive. Thanks for watching.